This one is broken off, but there's still enough purchase on there for a pipe, so I'm going to put a little ridge in there. Like everything on this bike, it's there's nothing that I can take for granted here. So yeah, you can see how much oil and debris is left here. So I'm going to clean this off, degrease it, and put it back together again. Let's see what's in this drive. Doesn't look too dirty actually. So finally got to the seat, managed to get all the glue off and repair as much of the rubber as I can. Managed to get that bolt out, bonded. All this is collapsed. I managed to bond that. This I did quite a lot of repair work. There's a lot of damage here. I think it comes from the rider sitting on the other side and has over time just popped out. So yeah, I think it's possible we could put this on the bike and see what it looks like. This is the original saddle, and I think the client might stick with it. I hope he does. I mean, it's fully functioning. There we go. I'm just giving this a little coat, a protective coat, because you can see how marked they are. This is where it gets tricky, is finding where all these parts go. It's always good to have a bunch of spare nuts and bolts lying around. So I'm just, for now, making sure that I have clean bolt heads. You can see I've replaced these bolt heads down there. This is now a very important part of restoration, is to see what's been overdone or what's been done fine, what still needs doing, what needs cleaning, what's sticking out now and looking out of place. I'll probably put a strap, get a strap for it anyway. Can't have that. I'm still in the godly and cream phase.
Shame, shame on you.
Like I said many times, not much on this bike hasn't been damaged in some way. If you remember from the previous videos that I'd done, this was a real nightmare to open. So I've cleaned it up. I've increased the groove on these adjuster screws, and I'm just put copper slip down the thread just to make this a lot better. So we just do the touch-ups to these bolts. Once we've tightened them, it just finishes it off really nicely. I have to get some rubber into that.
Fourth dimension playing a game now. We just wanted to connect it to really.
I've greased up these bearings, and then we can test whether those bearings were okay after all. This is a tensioner. You don't apply all the force onto this. Didn't need to replace those bearings. It's absolutely perfect. Be so careful not to scratch the surface. Yay! Bit I've been looking forward to, not. So all these bits be cleaned up. Yes folks, I'm still on the 10cc train. I'm going to talk about the controversy that goes around reusing old looms. Now the argument would be that it's best to replace the looms with a new one because you never know, you get shorts and you get all sorts of kind of problems with cables. In part, they're right. In other ways, it's one of those things that unless you check the loom and check the quality of the cabling and the wiring and whether they're frayed or crumbling, sometimes the plastic, when exposed to either fluids or to the weather, the plastic coating around the insulation or the insulation itself eventually gives way, and then you get shorting problems and you've got other issues. So you can see here I took some tape off that was on before, and just have a look at the quality. It gives me a good indication of the quality of the cables that are in, and they look absolutely fine. They look brand new, well preserved. There's no problems there at all. And the other thing that you need to consider are the ends. The ends are obviously, you can see here, this is enough to put any discerning restorer off using a loom again. But then again, this is the original color and it will lead us to the right place, and if it's still the same length, then fine, just reuse it again. So tin it and then make sure that you have the right fitting that's soldered on the end of that, and you're good to go. One of the benefits of using the old loom, particularly if you're working on a motorcycle that you've never worked on before, is that loom has got kinks and bends in the wiring that allude to where those things go. So they can help you fit back to those particular components, provided that the cable hasn't been messed with. It makes life a lot easier. It's like a bit like a puzzle. So I would suggest that you resolder any ends, because those are the only bits that are really working. They've been opened and pulled off and put back on again, and those things can wear, the wires can fray over there. So you want to check those, and you want to check the continuity between each side, make sure that they're both working. So hold them on both ends and then jiggle the cable around and see if you get any breaks along the way. If it's absolutely fine, then go through them all until they've got to be 100%. If they're 100% right and all the ends are good, use the loom again. It's a saving, and there's no need to waste money on buying a new one. Aftermarket ones, they come cheaper, then you've got your own set of problems there. The contacts, the connectors don't fit, so you end up with a double problem there. It's not always as simple as just replacing the loom. Always cut down the length of a loom or a wire, never across. Always down, because what happens is the blade tends to slip through between the insulation cables and doesn't actually do any damage. It's not an electrician's trick, for those who don't know. Let's see what horrors await us here. Okay.
We're very happy with it.
Looks pretty accurate, so I'll give that a spray tomorrow. And yeah, frustrating day today. Lots of tiny little bits and little irritations and things that don't fit and touch-ups, but the usual stuff. And getting to know how this all goes together. It's amazing how easily this comes off. This is just plain alcohol. I'm just honing out this thread with feeding. I think this end is stripped. I put these in, and I just staring at them, I just couldn't stand that dead finish, so I gave it a clean. So let's get this one done. That's better. This light, this is the original light. You can see it was cracked. That's not going to do. I was given another light here by a friend, and you can see it's got a crack across the top there, a very small crack, but for now that'll do. There's just some things that I can't fix. I'm not going to bother. I've asked the client to replace these. That also to be painted, and the screws, if they don't come with screws, these will have to be cleaned up and polished. All the parts on this were replaced. I managed to fix the crack in the top here. As you can see, the light's not great, but you can barely see it now. So I've polished all that up. Polished this plastic chrome. This plate has been sealed. I mean, it's a bit rough, but the plate will go on top of that. All the rubber bushes are in there. Now, what those are there for is they're kind of springs, you see, so that the Italians feel for some reason the number plate's going to move up and down. So we'll go with that. Guzzi's back on. I just think it's looking really nice now. So there's been a bit of a change of plan here. You can see I'm at the airport. If you follow this link, you can see what happened.
Flight 193 to Dallas-Fort Worth.
Right, let's get going.